Okay, how did that go? Hopefully you were able to calculate your 2 plus and minus 2 sigma and plus and minus 3 sigma values. You can always click on a cell to see the formula up here that was used to calculate it. So I clicked on this cell, and if you want to change it, you come up here to the top function bar. And when I click on it, can you see E2 is lit up in blue, showing me that it's pointing at this cell, which is mean, plus 2 times E10 is in green, which is this cell here. So that's correct. That's what I want. So that's just a quick way to check. So hopefully you were able to get the plus and minus 2 and 3 sigma. So now we will calculate our histogram. To do that, we need a special tool under the Data tab. So up here on the top, I just clicked on Data. And over on the right-hand side, I have this icon that says Data Analysis Tool. If you don't have this, and you might not if this is the first time you're doing it, let me show you quickly how to pull that up. Hopefully after you do it one time, it will always be there. So if you come to the Data tab here, and you do not see this data analysis here on the right, you go to File, Options, Add-ins. See here on the left, Add-ins. And then down at the very bottom, you want Excel Add-ins. It might already be lit up. And then you just say Go, and it will give you this error. That's okay. You just say okay. And then when I cancel out of this little add-ins box will have magically appeared. So just click on Analysis Toolpath and then say OK. And by doing that, it will bring up this data analysis tool. So hopefully you will only have to do that one time. One thing that we need to give Excel when we're creating our histograms is the bins. So remember, it's taking a huge set of data and it's kind of separating it into different buckets. And so we need to manually tell Excel what makes sense for those buckets. And to do that, you come over here and look at your minimum value and your maximum value. And you're just going to create buckets that span these values. So my minimum is 0.727. So I want each one of my buckets to be the same size. So I'm going to use the value of 0.005 for my bins. You can use something a different size, whatever makes sense for your data set. So for my bin, my smallest one is going to be 0.725. The next one is 0.73. The next one is 0.735, and so on. Let me show you a cool trick. If you highlight these two values, you can see how I hover over the corner, I get this little plus sign. I can pull that down and it will just keep adding by that same increment. So I want to go until I capture all my data. So I want all of this data to fit into one of these bins. So if I start at 0.725 as my smallest and 0.765 as my largest, I look over here at my minimum value and my maximum value, and all the data in between those will fit inside these bins. Okay, so you could just manually type in those values, but you need to enter values here that makes sense for your particular data set. All right, here's the fun part. Click on Data Analysis, Histogram. Okay. It's asking for an input range. Your input is your data set. So you just highlight those 27 values. Your bin range is the numbers that you just typed in. So I'm just using my mouse, my left mouse button, to highlight those numbers. And if you accidentally clicked the wrong thing or it didn't quite capture it the way you wanted it to, just bring your cursor down here, and you can always backspace and then re-grab those numbers. I'm just using my left mouse button to click and pull that down. So that's the input range, the bin range. Then it's asking for an output. This is just asking us, where do you want the final chart to be placed? I think it might, for you, it might show new workbook ply or new worksheet. If so, you want to click here on output range, bring your cursor into this cell, and I'm just going to ask it to put it right here next to the other data. And make sure this chart output is checked, because that's what we want to see. Okay, so voila, it created a histogram for us using our data. Now there's a lot we can learn from this. First of all, we do see that it is a fairly normal distribution. However, there's a couple outliers down here. So we've got one down here near 0.73. Let's see if we can find that here. Yeah, I think this is 0.727. So this is the minimum value. I'm going to go here to the Home tab and make that one bold. So if for some reason maybe you just entered a number incorrectly, or maybe during the measurement step it was measured incorrectly, you might end up with some outliers. So it's important to go back and investigate those outliers. So I see that it's block number 21, and this is why it was important that you number each one of those blocks. We'll find block number 21. Maybe look in your notebook just to double check that the value is entered correctly here. Get the dial calipers back out, remeasure it. If that is truly the value, well, if it's too much of an outlier, we might consider removing that block and getting a new one that fits more closely in the data set. And we would do that because we want these blocks all to fit together nicely. So if you have one that's way off, way much larger or much smaller, it will interfere with the final puzzle cube. So that's one thing to look for, the outliers. And like I said, make sure that you're going back and investigating why those numbers aren't quite aligning with the rest of them. Okay, good luck with that.